The Cornelia Marie was more than just a fishing boat. It was a symbol of hard work, family legacy, and survival in one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Built in 1989 in a small Alabama town known for shipbuilding, the Cornelia Marie was strong, dependable, and ready to battle the brutal Bering Sea. It measured 128 feet long and was powered by 2 diesel engines that gave it the speed and strength it needed to compete in the fierce world of crab fishing. With giant fuel and water tanks, it could stay at sea longer than most boats, which gave it an advantage during the short but intense crab seasons. The boat was named after Cornelia Marie Collins, the wife of the man who first owned it. Even after they divorced, she stayed a co-owner and the boat kept her name. Its bold paint colors made it easy to spot, and soon it became one of the most recognizable boats in the fishing world. Before it became a TV icon, the Cornelia Marie had already built a strong reputation among fishermen. It fished for different types of crab, salmon, and herring, and was known for its large hauls and reliable performance. When other boats struggled, the Cornelia Marie kept going. In the early 1990s, a man named Phil Harris joined the crew and quickly became a key figure in its story. He later became co-owner and captain. Harris was tough, loyal, and respected. He treated his crew like family, shared the profits fairly, and was known for doing the hard work right beside his men. His journey into fishing started when he was just a teenager. After seeing a friend make a fortune in one season, Harris left high school and joined the crab fishing world. It was a tough start, but by the time he was 21, he owned his first boat. Through debt, breakdowns, and tough weather, Harris never gave up. As captain of the Cornelia Marie, Harris made big changes to improve the boat. He even had it cut into 4 pieces and extended by 22 feet to increase how much crab it could carry. His sons, Josh and Jake, joined the crew, turning the boat into a family operation. When Discovery Channel started filming Deadliest Catch, they chose only a few boats to follow. Out of hundreds of boats, the Cornelia Marie stood out because of its performance and the personality of its captain. Phil wasn't sure about having cameras on board at first. He worried about safety and privacy, but eventually agreed, and the Cornelia Marie became a key part of the show. Viewers were drawn to the boat and the Harris family. They saw real struggles, real family dynamics, and the harsh reality of crab fishing. One unforgettable moment was when Phil told Jake he needed to go to treatment. It was raw and real, and people could feel the love and pain. When Phil suffered a stroke in 2010, the cameras were there. The crew called for help, EMTs came, and Phil was flown to Anchorage. At first, it seemed he might recover. He joked with doctors, squeezed hands, and gave people hope. But then things took a turn, and he passed away at just 53 years old. His death left a huge hole in the show and in the hearts of fans. Over 5 million people watched the episode that showed his final days. They cried with the family, shared his quotes online, and bought gear with his sayings. Phil Harris had become the heart of the show, and his spirit lived on through his sons and the boat. But things weren't easy after his death. Josh and Jake wanted to keep the boat, but they didn't fully own it. Repairs were expensive, and they had trouble getting loans. People thought they were too young and not experienced enough. Family disagreements made it harder. Despite the obstacles, Josh and Jake kept fighting to hold on to their father's legacy. The boat needed constant money for repairs, fuel, and crew wages. During the pandemic, things got worse. Crew costs went up, and fishing became even more risky. The only way to stay ahead was to take bigger risks, like fishing in deeper waters. The pressure was intense. On top of that, filming the show added more stress. The producers wanted drama, but real crab fishing is dangerous, and sometimes the cameras made things worse. Phil's addiction had been visible on the show. He smoked constantly, drank coffee and energy drinks all day, and refused to slow down even after a serious health scare. His sons carried the same burden. Josh had his own issues, and Jake's battle with addiction led to arrests and even prison time. The family tried to hold itself together, but it wasn't easy. The boat was a source of pride, but also a constant challenge. In August 2022, everything took a shocking turn. A court document came to light, revealing that Josh had hidden a serious crime from his past for over 2 decades. It was a crime so disturbing that Discovery Channel immediately removed all episodes of the Cornelia Marie from their platform. Streaming services followed, and the boat that had become a symbol of strength and resilience was erased almost overnight. Fans were stunned. The crime happened when Josh was a teenager, but its impact destroyed everything his father had built. It felt like the end of an era. The Cornelia Marie had survived storms, rough seas, and countless challenges. But it couldn't survive this. What began as a story of family, grit, and redemption had turned into something darker. People who had followed the Harris family for years were left heartbroken. They had watched Josh grow up on screen, cheered for him when he struggled to lead the boat, and hoped he would carry on his father's legacy. Now, that hope was gone. Even though the Cornelia Marie no longer appears on television, its story hasn't disappeared. Fans still talk about the boat, share memories of Captain Phil, and remember the good years. The boat itself may still be out there, fishing in the cold Alaskan waters, but it no longer carries the weight of a TV legend. Instead, it carries the memories of what once was a time when a father, his sons, and a boat stood as symbols of strength in a dangerous world. The story of the Cornelia Marie reminds us that even the toughest vessels can be brought down by the weight of the past, and that true legacy is built not just on hard work, but on truth and honor. It's a powerful lesson from the Bering Sea. Though its image has been tarnished, the Cornelia Marie's impact on pop culture and the fishing world remains undeniable. It introduced millions to the harsh beauty of the sea and the hard men and women who work it. It gave us unforgettable moments, real emotion, and a connection to people we never met but came to care about deeply. Behind the big hauls and tough talk was a story of family, struggle, and resilience. And even though the final chapter was painful, the earlier chapters still matter. The Cornelia Marie taught us that being strong isn't just about surviving storms at sea. It's about facing the storms within. No matter where it goes next, the legacy of the Cornelia Marie will live on in the hearts of those who watched it, worked on it, and loved the man who captained it with all his heart. The sea takes a lot, but it also gives back in stories that stay with us. The Cornelia Marie gave us one of the most unforgettable. After Captain Phil Harris passed away, everything began to change on the Cornelia Marie. The boat once felt like a strong family, held together by Phil's leadership, his deep love for his sons, and the crew's respect for him. But when Phil was gone, that unity started to fall apart. Phil had always been the heart of the Cornelia Marie, and without him, the balance was lost. His son, Jake, was struggling with grief, and things got worse when RY, who was temporarily in charge, started clashing with him. RY was strict, and he didn't hold back when he believed someone was making a mistake. He accused Jake of using drugs while they were out at sea, and in a shocking moment, he even called the police on him. He hoped that scare would help Jake straighten up and get clean. But for the crew and the fans watching at home, it was a heartbreaking moment. It didn't feel like the Cornelia Marie anymore. With the family fighting and the crab season not going well, things only got worse. The crew was frustrated and unhappy. They believed RY wasn't leading them the way Phil would have. They didn't feel like they were being guided with care or wisdom. The crab they needed to catch just wasn't there, and the stress piled up. Some crew members even talked about quitting, and it felt like the boat might fall apart completely. That time became one of the darkest and most painful periods in the history of the Cornelia Marie. But eventually, there was a turning point. Josh Harris, Phil's older son, refused to give up. He still believed in the Cornelia Marie and in the dream his father had worked so hard to build. Josh knew he couldn't do it alone, so he reached out to an old friend from childhood, Casey McManus. Casey had grown into a skilled deckhand and engineer. He understood boats inside and out. Together, Josh and Casey made a plan. They worked hard, found investors, and raised the money they needed to buy back a stake in the boat. Josh bought 45%, and Casey bought 5%. The other half went to two outside investors, each taking 25%. This gave them just enough money to start fixing the boat and giving it new life. They made big changes. They replaced the old engines with powerful 750 horsepower Cummins engines. They repaired the decks, upgraded the electronics, and worked on every part of the ship to make it safer and stronger. By 2015, Josh and Casey officially became co-captains. Josh had the passion and the name, the legacy of Phil Harris, while Casey had the knowledge and technical experience. Sometimes they didn't agree, and fans could see the tension between them on the show. But even when they argued, they still managed to work together and keep the Cornelia Marie going. While Josh was trying to build a new future on the water, his brother Jake was still lost in a storm of his own. His addiction had been known even before Phil died. Viewers had seen the painful moment when Phil confronted Jake for stealing his painkillers. Jake had admitted on camera that he was an addict, and after Phil's death, things only got worse. Jake was arrested multiple times. In 2010, it was for driving under the influence. In 2017, he was arrested again for drugs and car theft. In 2019, he was caught trying to distribute heroin and ended up in prison again. His life was spinning out of control, chases with the police, a revoked license, and more jail time. Eventually, Jake became distant from Josh and had no connection with the Cornelia Marie anymore. His story became a heartbreaking reminder of how addiction can completely destroy a person's life, even someone from a strong and proud family like the Harrises. In 2016, another blow hit fans hard. When season 13 of Deadliest Catch aired, the Cornelia Marie and Josh Harris were completely missing. No explanation was given at first. Fans were shocked. On social media, people began spreading rumors, wondering if something terrible had happened. Josh finally posted a video to explain. It wasn't because of any drama on the boat or problems with the crew. It was the producers' decision. They chose to leave the Cornelia Marie out of that season to focus on different boats and new storylines. Josh said he and his team were ready to fish, but they just weren't chosen that time. Fans were furious. They had grown attached to the Cornelia Marie and the Harris family. Many threatened to stop watching the show unless the boat returned. It was clear that for many viewers, the Cornelia Marie was more than just a boat, it was a symbol of strength, legacy, and emotion. But the network's decision had nothing to do with personal feelings. They were just trying to keep the show fresh and exciting after so many seasons. Still, for Josh and the crew, it was a hard pill to swallow. They had built their lives around the show, and being left out felt like being forgotten. As if that wasn't enough, the Harris family also had to deal with serious health problems. Several members of the family ended up in the ICU around the same time. In July 2024, Renee Harris, a close family member, suffered a massive heart attack. She had to undergo a double bypass surgery, spent days on life support, and her heart stopped 4 times. It was a terrifying time. Other family members had strokes, brain bleeds, and other medical emergencies. The stress became overwhelming. Fishing and filming no longer mattered, they were simply trying to survive. Fans came together in support. They sent donations, shared prayers, and reminded the Harris family that they weren't alone. But the pain didn't end there. Josh's grandfather, Captain Grant Harris, also passed away. After losing Phil, losing Grant was another deep wound. Josh felt the pressure of trying to carry the weight of 2 great captains' legacies while dealing with his own struggles. He spoke openly about his mental health battles, his depression, anxiety, and the emotional toll of everything he had been through. But he also made it clear that those painful losses gave him the strength to keep going. He wanted to make his father and grandfather proud by keeping the Cornelia Marie alive. Meanwhile, the crew behind Deadliest Catch weren't just people holding cameras. They became part of the family. They worked in the same dangerous conditions, ate the same food, faced the same storms, and experienced the same heartaches. They were there for the most personal moments, grief, celebration, anger, and love. Sometimes, they would step away when things got too private. But often, they were right there beside the crew, helping however they could. When the Cornelia Marie returned in season 14, fans were overjoyed. The boat had been missing for a whole season, and its absence had left a hole in the show. The blue and yellow colors of the Cornelia Marie were iconic. They represented the soul of Deadliest Catch. Discovery Channel announced that the boat would return for the 2018 season, and fans exploded with excitement. They made memes, started petitions, and flooded social media with support. Viewership went up as people tuned in to see Josh and Casey in action again. But it wasn't just about memories, it was about seeing whether this new generation could live up to Phil's incredible legacy. Then in 2020, the Harris story took a new direction. A spin-off show called Deadliest Catch, Bloodline was launched. Instead of the cold waters of Alaska, the show took place in sunny Hawaii. It all began when Josh discovered a box of old fishing charts in Phil's stateroom on the Cornelia Marie. There were 50 to 60 maps, and 3 of them were for Hawaii. These maps were filled with strange notes, highlighted areas, and markings of special fishing spots. Josh was fascinated. What was Phil doing with maps of Hawaii? To find answers, Josh teamed up with Casey and a local Hawaiian fisherman named Jeff Silver. Together, they tried to follow the clues left behind in the maps. They weren't just looking for fish like AHI tuna, which can be worth up to $2,000 each, they were chasing Phil's unknown dreams. The show mixed fishing with a personal investigation. It was about discovering a side of Phil Harris that no one had ever seen before. It became clear that Phil had been dreaming of something bigger, something beyond crab fishing. Bloodline gave fans a new look into who he really was. As the Cornelia Marie continued its journey, things started to change behind the scenes. Casey McManus slowly began taking more control of the boat. While Josh dealt with personal issues and legal troubles, Casey stepped up. By season 14, it was obvious that Casey was the one handling most of the work. His experience and reliability kept the boat running and financially secure. As Josh's role became smaller, Casey's leadership became more and more important. Eventually, he left the show and started a new job on land as vice president of operations for a large marine company. His journey showed that it takes more than a name to run a successful boat, it takes real skills, steady hands, and quiet strength. Unfortunately, Josh's life took a turn for the worse. Fans who once cheered for him were heartbroken as they watched his problems grow. He was dealing with relationship troubles, financial issues, and strange, sometimes unpredictable behavior. But the most devastating news came in September 2022. It was revealed that Josh had pleaded guilty many years earlier to a shocking crime. In 1998, when he was just 15 years old, he had sexually assaulted a 4-year-old girl who was the daughter of a family friend. The court documents surfaced online, and the details were horrifying. The child had no way of understanding what was happening. Because of delays in testing DNA evidence, charges didn't come until 1999. Josh eventually pleaded guilty to a lesser charge and spent 9 months in jail. He also had to complete 2 years of treatment. For more than 20 years, this truth had stayed hidden. But when it finally came out, the public reaction was swift and angry. Fans were shocked and hurt. Many questioned how such a terrible crime had gone unnoticed for so long. Discovery Channel acted quickly. By September 2022, they completely cut ties with Josh Harris. Deadliest Catch and Bloodline were removed from all streaming platforms. Old episodes disappeared, and even promotional posts were deleted. The network wanted nothing to do with the scandal. Some fans agreed with the decision, while others felt heartbroken to see the Cornelia Marie erased from the show. Even Casey, who had nothing to do with any of this, was affected. Because he had been Josh's partner on the boat and in the show, his contract wasn't renewed either. Fans felt this was unfair. Casey had always been a hard-working and respected figure, but he was caught in the fallout of Josh's past. After leaving the show, Casey moved on to working on tugboats and began a new chapter away from the cameras. His story reminded everyone just how fast everything can change in the world of reality television. In 2024, a new chapter began for the Cornelia Marie. On June 17, Taylor Jensen and a team of new investors announced they had bought the boat. The group included Jensen, Roger Thomas, Carrie Toyer, and Jake Albanino. Albanino stepped in as the new captain. Fans were curious and hopeful. For the first time since Phil Harris's death, the Cornelia Marie was no longer tied to the Harris family. The new owners respected the boat's history, but they made it clear their focus was fishing, not fame or television. It was the start of a new era for the Cornelia Marie, one that looked toward the future and honored the past without being trapped by it. This was about hard work, fresh leadership, and starting over, far from the drama that had once defined the boat's story.